7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You'll never have the sacred stone.
Welcome into the Vegas Squares podcast. We are sitting here in studio. I am looking at a soundboard, making sure everybody's sound check is on.
Yo, what's up?
Yep, hopefully it works.
All right, on the fly soundtrack. Those sounds, those sultry sounds, those Barry White-like voices you hear are Token Tony and Tony Johnson. Gentlemen, we have not been here in the studio in a week. I've been out of town on vacation. Token Tony's been doing podcasts at Spike's house, and I don't know where you've been.
That's always the question mark, is what I've been doing.
Is Tony Johnson even your real name?
Is that even like a real guy? Like, what am I supposed to do with that?
It's like Washington's quarterback, Josh Johnson. Is that made up?
Did they ever tell you that?
Story? You mentioned something about it. You didn't give me the whole story before, but yeah.
So when Mark Sanchez got benched in that, I guess, was it last week or whatever, 2 weeks ago, Spike texts and goes, well, who's quarterback in the Redskins? I go, Josh Johnson? He goes, no, for real. Who's quarterback? I'm like, Josh Johnson. He's like, that's a made-up name. I'm like, nope. And I showed him the stat sheet. He goes, holy shit.
Real NFL quarterback.
Yeah. He's been in the league for a while.
And he's got to win.
Can you name where he went to school?
Florida State?
No. It's not UCF either.
Josh Johnson.
And while you're guessing, while
like,
you're thinking about it, I'm going to actually confirm that it's the right school that I'm thinking of.
Yeah, the Josh Johnson I'm thinking of was K-State, but I don't think that's. I think that's a different name.
No, it's not him.
Okay. I have no idea then.
Florida.
Like you're sticking with the Florida connection.
Just sticking with the whole Florida. It's not a Florida connection.
Oh, okay.
I have no idea then.
West Virginia.
San Diego.
Oh, San Diego. Not even FBS. Okay, that's.
Nope.
We're not going to get that then.
Yeah.
But he's had a long history of being backup / practice squad quarterbacking in his NFL career, and he finally gets his first win. That's got to be a good feeling. So I know he's not listening, but if he is, kudos to Josh Johnson on getting your first win. Anyways, that's not what we came here to talk about on today's podcast. We are here to talk a little college football, a little NFL, not related to Josh Johnson, but we do have a Josh on the slate that we'll get a little bit of talking about. Let's thank the sponsors, if they're still there after the week. I haven't listened to Token Tony and Spike's podcasts.
It's probably for the best.
Because Spike sent me links that didn't download, so.
Might make your ears bleed.
Yeah, well, your face is making my eyes bleed, so. Two for two.
Pleasant.
We are sponsored by 12-Ounce Sports Radio. We thank them for putting on our dribble every Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. And we want to thank VGK Pop Sockets and ChaiPoker.com for being sponsors, supporters, contributors as well. So thank you to all of them. And also thank you to our newest sponsor, Eric on the Web Productions. For all your freelancing, YouTube, and video production needs, hit him up on Twitter at Eric on the Web. All right, let's look straight. First thing I got on the docket here is our I'm going to butcher this, prop bowl bet standings.
Yeah.
So, if you're not familiar, we did a prop bowl bet. How should I put that? A college football bowl prop bet podcast.
Just say we just made picks. Like, why does it have to be props? It could just be just say we made a picking contest.
All right, fine. I said prop.
Let's make it easier. Yeah.
Well, we made a pick on each of the bowl games. Yeah. Money line. That's not fun. I like prop bet bowl podcast.
Okay, then go with that.
I like tongue twisting myself.
It's not a money line. See, I don't think you should use money line because we didn't that was not an influence on the picking procedure.
Okay, we just picked winners.
Yes.
I guess, okay.
Yeah.
Not based on the money line, you're right.
That would have changed the whole situation.
Okay. We picked the winners on these bowls this season, and so far we are into December 20th, and we had, what did we say? We had about 20 bowls that we deferred on?
Something around there.
Yes. Roughly, yeah.
Roughly about half.
We've played, 7 bowls so far?
Yes.
And we deferred on 4 of those first 7 bowls.
Yeah.
Tulane versus Louisiana. Token and I both had Louisiana. Tony Johnson had Tulane.
Not much doubt in that one. I felt good about that from the get-go. That was good.
Fuck off. Just kidding.
There you go.
Yeah, he got the Tulane victory. All right, Fresno State. Tony Johnson and Anthony had that game with Fresno. I took Arizona State. Arizona State actually gave them a run for their money for a while. It kind of broke open late.
I agree with that. Yeah, I thought either team could have won that one for most of it. I agree.
And then we had Eastern Michigan versus Georgia Southern. Tony Johnson was on Eastern Michigan. Anthony and I were on Georgia Southern. Got the win on that one. And you both were on San Diego State. I was on Ohio. And if you look closely, there are 2 letters in Ohio that are actually the exact number of points that San Diego State scored.
Yeah.
So
there's not much I can talk about that. That was not a good
showing by San Diego State in the Frisco Bowl, which I thought was in San Francisco. Don't know how I got there, but
they could have played that thing anywhere. I don't think that winner was not going to change in that game. That was rough.
Yeah. So nevertheless, Tony's gotten 2 right. Token's gotten 2 right. And I've gotten 2 right.
We're all tied.
So we're tied at 2. So we've done nothing to separate from the pack from each other. So we still have roughly, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 13, 16. We have 19 games left where we differ. At least one of us differs from the other 2. Obviously, because 2 of us are going to be on the side. At least once.
Yeah.
Or 19 more times. Anyways. We do have a podcast coming up Saturday morning on 12 Ounce Sports Radio. That will be on at 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. in the Pacific. So there will be a few bowl games before that we won't be able to talk about, obviously, on that podcast. So we're going to preview them on this podcast, and that's the 3. One being tonight, Marshall USF, and then we also have the 2 on the 21st, those being Florida International versus Toledo, and Western Michigan versus BYU. So let's discuss those bowls, not only with our bowl pick here, but let's actually talk about those games a little bit in depth from a betting slate as well. We'll start with Marshall and USF. Oof, that was weird.
I'm the one supposed to make that mistake, not you.
I've said UFC before too. All right, so it just happens. All the letters going together, just
mumble jumble.
Yeah. Marshall actually is going down to Raymond James Stadium literally in USF's home stadium for a bowl game, and they're 3.5-point favorites. This line actually, the more I start to sit on it and stew, actually worries me a little bit. I feel like it's a Vegas trap line. It's your classic, hey, look, South Florida's lost 5 in a row. Charlie Strong doesn't know what he's doing. South Florida's an abomination. They can't play ball. Here comes Marshall. Oh, they have a better record. They're 8-4. They're a Conference USA opponent. We're giving the G5 a little love because of this, that, and the other. I feel like this is a classic trap line for South Florida to come in and win this game. I feel like Vegas wants you to be on the Thundering Herd. And right now, I don't have an official bet, even though this game, as you're hearing this on 12 Ounce, is starting very, very shortly. I'm starting to fade away from my initial thoughts on Marshall. In the contest, I have Marshall winning. We all have Marshall winning, I think, in this one. Yeah. So this is a consensus pick, so don't have to worry about that one as far as our bets. But something just doesn't feel right. I feel like South Florida wants to probably finish this season on a positive note, finish with an 8-win season, which it doesn't sound great if you're a P5 guy, but having an 8-win season still feels good. Winning a bowl game obviously feels good, and God, it would be a pretty low point in the program if a Conference USA opponent came to your door and beat you in a bowl game.
Yeah, that would be embarrassing for that program.
Yeah, I think as you said, I think especially it being actually at home be a tough one to swallow. But the problem is when we get
it's not even a proximity home game. Right. It's a home game.
Right. No, agreed. But when we get down to looking at the teams, especially when we look defensively, I think these are very, very separate teams here. Relatively equal amount of talent, I think, on both sides, which I think is saying something for the recruiting that South Florida has not done in the recent few years. And Marshall, to me, looks like the better team on both sides. So we'll see about the I think it will be important to see if quarterback Blake Barnett will play for South Florida. I do think he will give him the best chance.
Agreed.
In that sense. So that will be interesting to note. But to me, Marshall's defense is really the strong point here, and I think will be the big factor in this one. I liked it, all the way when it opened at 2.5. I was a fan of Marshall. I didn't bet it then, and I still haven't yet myself. But now in the 3 to 3.5 range, I'm not as excited about it, obviously. But I do think that Marshall just simply has the better team, and if they show up and play to their capabilities, I don't think they'll struggle that much in this one. It might be a little bit close, in the final score portion of it, but I think Marshall will have a good chance to dominate this one, and at least in the sense of being the better team for sure.
I mean, Token, what does this say? I mean, Marshall's a 3.5-point favorite. Like I know I keep stressing this, but Marshall's a 3.5-point favorite inside South Florida Stadium. So basically, what Vegas is saying,
they're almost a touchdown favorite.
They're almost a touchdown favorite. Yeah, exactly. Because you're giving them on a neutral field. You're giving or on this field, you're giving South Florida
usually 3. Yeah,
and that may be a little trick for Thundering Herd backers because a lot of people may not pay attention to where this bowl exactly is, and maybe just lay the 3.5, or take the 3.5 when Marshall may actually clearly be a touchdown favorite team, like you're saying.
Yeah, and I'm going to lean Marshall on this one. I think even at 3.5, that's the better pick. I think Marshall will win this game by about a touchdown. So,
you like anything on the total in this game? 51.
No, it went down from 54.5. That's quite a bit of movement. I would lean towards the under, but I wouldn't touch it.
I feel like the over might be in play here.
I don't have any. Both sides have a nice argument to me. I don't have any. One of those. Yeah, it could go. It could go either way game.
I mean, both offensively and defensive points allowed per game both trend toward the over in this. I mean, you're talking two teams that score an average of 57, and two teams that give up an average of 53 combined. I know, obviously, that's not the be-all, end-all, but I mean, if trends were to continue themselves, even if it was 31-22, yeah. So even if their defensive points allowed per game almost hit there, you're talking 60 or 53.5, which would obviously push it. But I don't know. It's just it feels weird. I don't want to outsmart myself or outthink myself. I think you're right. I think we all stick with the gut, go with Marshall. A lot of people may think, South Florida versus Marshall, Conference USA versus, American Athletic Conference, a potential in South Florida for, well, depending on who you believe, Big 12 expansion has been sniffing around Florida in the two markets between Orlando and Tampa. So it's not like they're completely out of the race here in that aspect of that. So I'm just trying to wrap my head around where, I like to put my money where Vegas likes to put their money, and I'm just trying to figure out where Vegas wants me to put my money because 3.5 is a 3.5's a funny number. I mean, I'm not saying Marshall can't win; they definitely should win, but they may win by a last-second field goal, which is one of Token Tony's favorite ways to pick NFL games. Yeah.
Always fun, right? Way to get there, but yeah, no,
his two favorite sayings are last-second field goal and backdoor. So
backdoor covers.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think I'm gonna stick with the gut and take lay the 3.5, maybe even buy the hook for 10 cents.
I'm not a big fan of buying the hook.
Or just based on here, pay the 160 and just get the 3 points back.
Yeah, I think buying the 160 is smarter than paying the 10 cents more for the hook.
Yeah, I mean, I pay 40 cents more to get 3.5 points, so
yeah,
it's effectively a wash at that point. But it'd be interesting. I mean, you've got weapons on USF, no doubt about it. I mean, a team starting out 7-0 is no joke. I mean, you have to take that into account, and I'm wondering how much that's been taken into account. I mean, FPI, ESPN simulators have this game over 10,000 simulations, USF winning 52% of the time and Marshall winning 48%. So it's really tough to see where you would go in this spot. But two decent quarterbacks, both have missed time due to benching or injury. In the case of Marshall, it was injury for Green and benching for Barnett. But USF has a 1,000-yard rusher in Jordan Cronkrite, never say his name right. But Tyree Brady's a 1,000-yard receiver. Actually, he's got 984, but he'll get there.
Yeah.
So we're all sticking here with Marshall in this spot.
Yeah.
Yep, definitely. I think the defense will be the difference maker. Marshall's got quite a good one, and we've seen South Florida really fall apart in certain times. They allow 245 rushing yards a game, which is pretty obscene. So I think this is got
inflated by UCF though. UCF ran for like 480 on them.
Been inflated by a lot of teams. Illinois ran for over 250 as well in that game. I think
Temple ran for a lot on them too.
Yeah,
so.
I don't know. I'm not sure, but. Yeah, it'll be interesting. Oh, one other thing I wanted to bring up. We had, on the last podcast, talked about the attendance on the New Orleans Bowl between Middle Tennessee State and Appalachian State.
Oh, yes. Do you have it?
I do have it up. And so...
What was our number?
Our number was 15,000.
Okay.
And
he doesn't sound too enthused. I think we won.
Not only did you win, you won by a lot. It was the official 23,942.
Wow.
Was the official attendance.
So. I even took the over 20.
It went way up, yeah.
Between Appalachian State and Middle Tennessee?
That's right.
Appalachian State, New Orleans. I mean, the bowl games are new to them. This is only like their third or fourth. They're actually undefeated in bowl games, which is pretty impressive.
Yeah, and they were there in droves. I guess I'm looking at it now, they had 6,000 tickets themselves, and they sold out those through their own athletic department in the first 2 weeks. So before the game was announced, they had a pre-sale of wherever bowl they were going to go to, and so they sold out. So
nice.
So
yeah,
that was
UCF did that too. I'm a season ticket holder for UCF, and basically what they did is. And I didn't like it because, well, I'm not rolling in money. They made you put down money for each of the potential bowl games. So you almost had to guess where UCF was going to go. I don't know if Appalachian State's doing this. But I actually, if I wanted tickets to Fiesta, Peach, God forbid, college football playoff, I had to put down the money. I didn't put down Peach this year because no matter what, I couldn't go to the Peach Bowl with my schedule. My family's coming in town for Christmas. I could do Fiesta, and I was telling everyone to fuck off if they made the playoff. So that was happening. They would have probably made the Orange Bowl in that spot if they made the playoff. So, a flight to Miami, whatever, for on December 29th. And you see that the Peach Bowl was on December 29th, and so was the first game of the playoffs. So if it was the Peach Bowl, I told my family, I was like, I'm staying. But if they make the playoff, sorry guys, this may never happen again. So. But yeah, they kind of did that. I wasn't crazy about that in a sense of, the tickets weren't cheap,
So you're a current season ticket holder?
I have been for this. This is my second year, and I just renewed for a third.
Okay. But how many games are you going to a year, though?
I have gone to 0.
Okay. So you're just holding them for I'm just curious.
I actually sell them.
Sure. I was
and the reason I have it is it actually counts as my donation to the school.
Got it.
And it helps me secure better seating for the bowl games.
Okay.
So, like when the Peach Bowl came, I got great seats for a better rate than your average bear.
Interesting.
And I got good seats for the Fiesta Bowl, better than I would find, on StubHub or whatever.
Right.
So it has its benefits, and actually, as they've been obviously having the seasons that they've had the last 2 years, I've been selling my tickets at quite a nice profit.
Oh, good. Good for you.
So it's actually been not only beneficial for the bowl games, it's actually been not a substantial, but a little bit of a moneymaker.
Nice. Good. Excellent.
Even after paying StubHub fees, so I'm quite proud of myself.
There you go.
Because it's hard to beat those, I'll tell you that.
They are, yes.
That's the rake of tickets.
They got a good business model, those StubHub guys. They're good.
Yeah, they do. So, all right, well, let's look at FIU and Toledo. That matchup will be Friday the 21st. That is the Bahamas Bowl.
Yep.
Do we know what makers wanted it yet? Did we figure that out?
You had said it was a job board or of some sort.
Oh, that's
Isn't that
right.
what you had said?
Yeah, you're right.
But one that we had not really heard of, not one of the big names, so maybe just a new startup or something like that,
Yeah.
Don't know.
So, what do we have, Token, as far as the line on this game?
The line currently is 7.
In favor of the refs?
In favor of the Rockets, yeah.
Okay. Let's look at the...
Total went from 66.5 to 56.
All right, Token, you're on Toledo.
Yes.
And Tony and I are on Florida International. in this spot. And I believe, if I'm correct, the only reason I'm on Florida National is because Tony Johnson put together a pretty good case.
He did, though.
That's scary.
I know nothing about these two teams. I won't watch this bowl game, so I felt like you put on a compelling case for FIU. So let's talk about it a little bit. Let's kind of rehash.
I like a lot what FIU is doing going forward here, and I know that doesn't necessarily bode well specifically for a bowl game, but it's a program on the rise, and it's a program I've talked about that I think as these Florida schools move up and down, and we see some of the traditional blue bloods, go from these big programs to lower, and we see UCF rise. I think this is the next one here to really make a dent and really rise. This being in Miami helps a lot. The very fertile ground for recruits, and then the most important thing by far is Butch Davis being their head coach, who's been there and done that in multiple places, both at North Carolina and of course with Miami, and I think having that pedigree and knowing exactly what it takes to get in the trenches of just nasty recruiting battles, and he doesn't shy away from it, I think is extremely important. So my guess is they also have a very small stadium, and it was built not terribly long ago, and built in the sense of you can actually expand it and move it out and up both. So I think they have a lot of expansion use. They have a whole brand new indoor facility they just built, which is small, but at least it's legit and on par with something that's real. So I just feel like this is a program that's really rising. They have a lot of really talented players, and it's going to be a tough matchup for Toledo. I think Toledo has faced a lot of defenses that don't get after it all that much in the MAC. A lot of teams that don't have much of a secondary, and FIU is really on a totally different level there. So I like what they did this season. They made a really nice run and had a good chance to get into their conference championship game, and ended up blowing a game late, the last game of the season. But I think these guys will stay motivated. It's a team that is treating a bowl. We've talked about what the bowl season sometimes means for teams, and does it really matter for a lower end bowl for a top Power 5 team, or does it matter for these lower teams that won their conference maybe, but then are playing on December 19th for whatever reason. But I do think this one is going to matter for them, and I think this is just a program builder and something that's important. We also look at Butch Davis's record as a bowl coach, and he's done it both at the high-end BCS level back in the day to all the way to now, and he's got a great record in bowl games. So I think that's important as well. And then we get into the fact of it being the Bahamas. And a lot of things are hard to predict here. We've had a bunch of blowouts over the years. We had Frank Solich in Ohio on a route last year. PJ Fleck a couple of years ago with Western Michigan.
Wasn't that the game where they were down by 5 touchdowns?
Do
you remember that, the Bahamas Bowl?
They were down. They were actually down by a touchdown in the second quarter in that game. They ended up winning by 3 or 4 touchdowns. I don't know. There was a different game. Maybe there could be a different one. I don't know.
Could be a different one. You keep talking. I'm going to try to find that game.
No, I'm about done.
Oh no, find more. I'm going to try to find Bahamas Bowl history.
Oh, here we go.
No, I believe Florida National did have a great year, especially behind Morgan as their drop back quarterback and all that.
Found it. It was Western Kentucky versus Central Michigan.
Okay, yeah.
Go ahead, though.
I actually do like Toledo in this matchup to win outright, even to cover, though. I think they will be able to. I think they will be able to cover the initial spread, win this game by about 10 or 14, and even though Peters hasn't had the great year that the Rockets were hoping for, I think Kobach's going to be able to run against this Florida National defense.
Maybe Kareem Hunt can play. Didn't he play for Toledo?
He did.
Yeah.
So I found the one I was thinking of. It was the Central Michigan Chippewas versus the Western Kentucky Hilltoppers. Hilltoppers, under Coach Jeff Brom, went into the fourth quarter with a 49-14 lead and held on 49-48.
Good stuff.
Yeah, I remember that. It was crazy.
Was that when Dan Lefevre was the quarterback?
Let's see. It was 2000.
Very well could have been.
It was 2014.
Bears draft?
No,
he was there a while ago, though, right? He was there a long time ago.
Yeah, he was there until about 2010 or so.
Eric Fisher was there, though.
Eric Fisher. No, not that year. He was drafted by then.
By 2014?
Yeah, he was drafted 2013.
Okay, I can't find a...
You guys are good.
I can't find
I remember because I
a
did that
roster
research,
here because Wikipedia
2 weeks
doesn't
ago.
go that far. But
Yeah, who cares about the Chippewas back then?
I do kind of now. I want to.
How about now? The team is terrible now.
Yeah.
All right, so you're sticking with Toledo. You're sticking with FIU.
I'm not terribly confident with it. I just think this game has a lot of randomness potentially to it, especially being in the Bahamas. I'm happy to have. I was actually hoping both of you would be on the favorite here, and I'd have a chance to get a couple of points back. But it was unfortunate that didn't happen that way. But no, I'm not
put together such a compelling argument.
Yeah, that's true. I'm not that confident.
You oversold yourself.
I probably did. I'm not that confident. I can see actually exactly where Token is coming from. I don't terribly disagree. Toledo's got a very fine team.
He gave it his stamp of approval.
It depends on what kind of stamp of approval it is. Some stamp of approvals are terrible. Some stamp of approvals are good.
I agree.
Never really
Absolutely.
So I took it as a positive thumbs up stamp of approval.
All right. Well,
Fair
I hope
enough.
we get there. So
Fair enough. Yeah, I'm probably not going to be up early to watch this one tomorrow, but
No, 9:30 in the morning.
yeah.
early start. Yeah.
But I heard you may make the trek to your favorite bowl, the famous Idaho Potato Bowl in Boise.
I might.
Tickets
yeah.
as low as $20, 319 available.
I think they went up in price. I think they were as low as like 14 last we saw.
However, for the Bahama Bowl, there is only one ticket available, $96.
That's
Yeah.
a very small stadium. So my guess is it's just based on quantity that's there.
How big is that stadium?
It's really small. I don't
Like
remember what it is, but
10,000.
that's really small.
I got to know now. I'm in the.
Okay.
I got to get into those. You ever get into those dark corners of Wikipedia and you're like, what just happened with
course.
3 hours of my life?
That's me with YouTube usually.
You and the pimple popping videos?
Part of it.
It has a capacity of 15,000, but the ability to hold 23.
Oh, they can hold 23. Okay, that's bigger than I
pretty-
thought. But yeah.
Pretty decent size, yeah.
That's a pretty neat stadium. It looks. Well, never mind. All right. All right. So, famous Idaho Potato Bowl, AKA Token's favorite bowl number 1, BYU versus Western Michigan.
Yeah, hopefully this the field doesn't look blue in this one. I'm hoping for some snow.
You think BYU's going to try to wear their navy? Try to blend in a little bit? What's the line on this one?
This one's currently 12.
Yeah.
BYU's the
I think
favorite.
you guys both have BYU, and I think I took a flyer on Western
did.
Michigan.
Yeah.
Took a shot at it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely going to bet Western Michigan plus the 12.
I do like Western plus the points for sure. Total currently at 50, up from 48. I think this one will go over, though. I think there'll be a decent amount of scoring in this matchup. And
Do we have a weather report for this?
I have nothing currently, but we can certainly look it up.
yeah,
I feel like weather could be a factor in this spot, but who does that favor?
That's why I haven't focused on it, because I don't see how it really has much of an effect on either team. I think both teams are going to run the ball a lot, as we know.
Okay.
BYU is a pretty young quarterback, and Western Michigan has an unknown quarterback. So it's sort of a spot where I can understand taking the points here. And I don't have a bet on this as well, but I'm with you guys if I had to be on one here. I think getting 12 points in a game where we don't have a lot of confidence in quarterback, and we could potentially have some bad weather with a lot of running of the ball, I think that's kind of where you would want to be. You know?
weather report right now, high around 40, low around 20, partially cloudy.
so
That's
probably
really
no
good.
snow. So
yeah, that's good for Boise.
make for a decent game. then.
Above average this time of year.
Yeah.
All right, so BYU with the 12. Obviously, we're sticking with our picks. I'll take WMU. But the 12-point line, I think we're all in agreement that would probably lay or take the points.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Yeah, I think Western can kind of keep it marginally close, lose this game by about a touchdown or maybe
Backdoor
touchdown
cover.
and a half.
Backdoor cover, late field goal at the end. The Token Tony special.
Yep.
So, all right, well, that's the bowl games that will be happening between this podcast and the next podcast. So, good luck to bettors. I think, let's recap, we're all on Marshall. Did we talk about FIU Toledo in the 7? I mean, how do we feel about that? Obviously, with us thinking FIU is going to win, we're gonna take the dog. But how do you feel about the 7?
I'm on Toledo on that one.
On the 7?
Yeah. Yeah, I like the favorite in that one. I think they win this by 10-14 and just kind of run away with it.
Okay, fair enough.
Well,
Another spot here. You got a 7-5 Toledo team again. Like you talked about, the MAC really kind of plays matador defense, and they only went 7-5 against a team that had a shot to play for the CUSA title. That's an interesting concept. So, I think I would lay the points or take the points in that spot as well.
Yep, that sums up my position pretty much exactly what you said there. Yep, for sure.
So, all right, well, this Saturday's podcast, when you listen, if you listen, we hope you listen, we'll be talking about the games from December 22nd all the way through the 28th, and then we'll obviously start getting into the bigger games.
A lot of really good games, though. I know the bowl season is always kind of weird with the janky matchups that we get sometimes, but there's some really good teams.
If we get full participation, yes, there is. There's another person just dropped out, too. I'm trying to figure out who. Oh, Higdon for Michigan.
Yeah.
Just dropped out of the Peach Bowl. So
Yeah.
I think the more and more those guys start dropping out of the New Year's Six bowls that aren't playoffs, or even if they do drop out of playoffs, I think that's the only way that they're going to kick this college football in the nuts and say, hey, look, you got to do something. So
Yeah.
I think that combined with P5 conferences consistently being left out, because this year we have, 2 left out again? We got Big Ten and Pac-12?
Yes.
Yeah.
And the Big Ten's been left out for 2 years in a row, which there's a lot of people who believe Big Ten's the big conference, or the best conference.
Yeah. I don't agree with that, but I think they might be number 2.
I say I don't agree with it, but I don't think they're far off.
I would say
They're about as top-heavy as the SEC, in my opinion. They've got 2, and on any given year, up to 4 good teams.
I think they're deeper than the SEC this year, I think. But the top end, though, is not as good as the top end of the SEC.
I mean, you're looking at Ohio State versus Alabama, and then what?
And Georgia, though.
Michigan
really
versus Georgia?
Yeah, Georgia's really good, too, in my opinion.
Well, I mean, they got Michigan pitted against Florida. I think Michigan versus Georgia in the Sugar Bowl would have been a nice matchup.
Been a better game, I agree.
I mean, that like you're talking about, SEC 2 versus Big Ten 2 in that spot right there would have been. I guess they're not officially Big Ten 2. They didn't play for the title game. But you know what I mean.
Exactly.
Think one thing Big Ten can do to really prove their case is just kind of give way with the divisions or realign them to fit strengths more. I mean, it's kind of hard.
The only thing you can do is put Michigan over in the West. And who's in the West that you can put in the East? Indiana?
I think they like having all those Indiana schools in that area, though, right?
Yeah.
Facing each other.
I mean, they can still have that cross rivalry where they play each other every year. Like
You're
Alabama plays Tennessee every year.
You're right.
Either that or you just get rid of the divisions, make it one conference, or one full division, top 2 teams play each other.
There you go.
Kind of how it was.
That could work, too. Yeah, I'm with you. I think it's unfortunate the way they have it set up right now because
I think the Big 12 is UCF's best case for expanding the playoff. Or UCF and G5 teams. Sorry. I'm not. You never know. I mean, UCF could fall off the map tomorrow, and we'd never know. Boise eventually fell off because it was like, for how many years do we have to be great to sniff a bowl game?
Right.
To sniff
And nobody wants to face you when you're running.
And nobody wants to face you when you run like that because what good does it do them? So,
Yeah.
But little shameless plug, UCF had the number 2 rated recruiting class in all of the G5 schools behind the Smurf Turf.
Oh, really?
Oh,
Are you talking about the early recruiting period right now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, they said National Signing Day. I thought National Signing Day was in February.
I thought so too.
They have 2
This
now?
is technically called the early recruiting period, the
But
early
they can
signing
flip,
day.
right? They can still flip, right?
Anyone can flip at any time,
Yeah.
but
Well, not after you sign your letter of intent. You still have, once you sign your letter of intent, I believe
Committed.
you transfer, you sit.
you have to sit a year. Yes, although I believe now that they've been able to get some people to play like the immediate year, I believe people have signed intent and then played somewhere else. Maybe not FBS.
Well,
one guy played in an FCS team, and he actually Tennessee State or something like that.
Well, they can do hardships, but also they have this new rule: if you only play the 4 games or X amount of plays,
Sure.
that counts as your redshirt year. So that's an immediate transfer.
That's true. Yes,
They're still playing a little bit in that.
That's fair. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
you're right.
Is because Kelly Bryant's fallen in that. I know that, and Jalen Hurts is obviously not going to transfer.
Right.
But if he does, he still has his red shirt, and he can still sit out a year, and then we'll see him in 2 years. But he's going to be an interesting offseason case.
He will be. It'll be fun. It'll be fun to see what he decides to do.
Because he's clearly, Tua's not going anywhere, so he's clearly number 2 on the depth chart going in, no matter what he did in that SEC title game. Unless Tua legitimately shits the bed in the first playoff game.
Right. He would have to be a complete, total disaster, and probably more of an injury issue than anything else, because I just can't. It's unfathomable. Having watched Tua play this year and how dynamic he is as both a runner and a passer, it just doesn't seem possible. So.
Could you put Northwestern in the Big Ten East and Michigan in the Big Ten West?
Why not?
I'm just thinking.
Possibly,
I like the divisional situation, but you're right. I mean, Big Ten East: OSU, Michigan, Penn State, Michigan State. And that's a murderer's row, especially when you're talking about they want the Indiana schools. Well, Indiana's in the Big Ten East.
Yeah.
So
No, I know it's weird. I don't think there's rhyme or reason for how it's designed right now necessarily. It's all sort of whoever made the decisions. I'm sure there's a lot of other politics and money involved. So who knows?
Man, Michigan State. Oh, that's in conference. I was like, Michigan State only scored 155 points this year, but Rutgers only scored 162 points overall.
Michigan State, the second half of the season was brutal. They were really brutal.
And even the games they were winning, it was like 17-14, stuff like that. Yeah.
No, I know. It's just wow.
They played a lot of rough weather conditions, too.
And had a lot of injuries. A lot of injuries, too. I mean, their main three offensive players were hurt for the majority of the time, so it's hard to say.
Wow. All right, well, let's move into the NFL. Talk a little bit of the Saturday games, since Spike, Token, and myself aren't going to get to pick these because they are Saturday games, and they don't count towards our season-long bet.
Yeah. We could have Tony proxy for Spike, though.
Does that mean I have to just close my eyes and just point at something and randomly
That's pretty
choose?
much Spike's pick.
Okay.
So.
It might be better than Spike's picks.
What's the diff?
You might know more about punters.
God, punters is still making its way into our podcast a year later.
Yep.
I think it's entertaining. I wish I had been there to see this, too. That would have been kind of fun.
Well, they were on the phone, but the three of us were looking at it sort of like...
Really?
And I'm sitting here going, because they're talking about punters, and we had 3 bowl games left and 11 minutes of podcast time. And they're talking about the punters, and I'm just like...
Holy
You're not going to make it.
I'm not going to make it.
So, I mean, their analysis was pretty damn good.
Oh, yeah, no. Kudos to those guys. I'm not making fun of the way they analyzed the games, dropped it back. It was just, so in-depth, and I'm just thinking, holy cow. But I know that they do an SEC podcast, and one of them actually now works for Saturday Down South, which is
Oh, that's legit.
Yeah, the SEC's... Without being ESPN, they're the SEC go-to, basically. Yep. Yeah, Saturday Down South. So, all right, let's move into NFL. Redskins-Titans. Line currently is 10.
Yeah.
No faith in Josh Johnson, the fake Pinocchio quarterback. You got the Titans 8-6. I mean, they're 5-1 at home. I get it. The Redskins still in the playoff hunt. I mean, they're not out of it, but they aren't the team they were with even Colt McCoy under center. Mm-hmm. And it's weird. I think you see a situation where AP's breaking down despite the fact that he hasn't had that many carries. And this defense is breaking down, having to be on the field so damn much. Thoughts on this one? We've got, like I said, a 10, the over-under 37. Games in Nashville. It's really hard to say. Although, kudos to Adrian Peterson because he does have 2 games left. And God forbid, unless he somehow does not able to do this, he's going to have another 1,000-yard season at, 33 years old?
Yeah, that's impressive.
Yeah,
so he needs 77 yards.
Yep.
Very impressive.
Should be able to get there, but...
Should, yes. All right, Titans-Redskins, 10 points.
Give me Washington plus the points in this one. I think they are able to keep it close. Probably comes down to about a field goal or a touchdown. I think the X factor in this game is going to be Derrick Henry, though. Whether he can...
Kid's been running good.
Yeah. Keep that A game up.
I sure do wish I would have picked him up for the playoffs in one of my fantasy leagues.
Yeah. I mean,
he's winning leagues possibly for some people right now.
He's put up 40.
Well, I lost by 7, and Saquon Barkley had the worst game of his season this year.
He sure did.
Worst game of his
I was facing
career,
it myself, so I was pleased.
I'm sure you were.
Yeah, I might even sprinkle a little on Washington money line in this spot too.
That's a tough one. The Titans can be vulnerable, but I mean 5-1 at home this year.
But they usually play down to their opponents.
I get that, and I don't mind taking the 10. I just don't know if I feel. I mean, it's the NFL. Anything can happen, but
yeah.
Josh Johnson had his little moment last week, and who'd they play last week? They struggled to beat them. They struggled to beat the Jets last week. Was it the Jets?
Are we talking about Washington or Tennessee right now?
Talking about Washington.
Oh, sorry.
They played Jacksonville.
Yeah.
Jacksonville, that's who it was, yeah.
Kind of a back and forth.
And they struggled to beat them, 16-13, yeah.
Yeah, 16-13.
Well, I guess the Titans did play the Giants. Right?
Yeah.
Well, they gave up a punt return touchdown towards the end of the first half. And
Westbrook, that's right, yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I actually had Washington money line in that game as one of my bets.
There you go.
Came through.
Hung on despite the special team score. Always a good feeling.
Yeah, I was watching that.
Special team
on
scores
your TV while
are
watching
not
your
fun.
bets.
They are not fun.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's probably no. You might have been the only fan watching that game.
That's true. That was a brutal one. But
Oh,
Well, a lot of the other games were at halftime already then, so.
fair enough.
yeah, justify it however you need to. Well, Tony, what do you think?
I'm with you guys for the most part here. I guess full disclosure, I do have only one future bet on in the NFL, and I just made it about 10 days ago. And it's Tennessee at 100-1 to win the Super Bowl and 40-1 to win the AFC. So I'm clearly biased in this sense. So I'm going to try to, but it's always good to have disclosure about
Just
it.
because you made those bets doesn't mean you're going to lay 10 points.
That's also correct because I do not want to lay 10 points. That is true, but. And as Token, I think said it very well. That this team does really play down to opponents. They've only been more than a 7-point favorite once this year, and that was a few weeks back against the Jets at home.
They did not cover.
They did not.
They almost
cover.
lost that game.
They absolutely did. So yeah, that's. There's just been a lot of that this year. And the Buffalo game on the road early in October, they were terrible, and that was when Buffalo was still a complete train wreck. Mm-hmm. They lost that game outright. I mean, there were just a lot of games.
2-5 at home, or 2-5 on the road this year. So.
Yeah, so
But that doesn't matter for this game.
No, I know it doesn't. But I think it's important to note that I think this is a classic team where they really play up to really good opponents and they play down to bad ones. And the nice thing though here is that if you do want to lay the 10, Tennessee is certainly still vying for a playoff spot, and all of these games are immensely important. So I'm not saying that Washington isn't playing hard. Clearly they are. I mean, the last few weeks they've stayed in games, and they're doing what they can with this sort of subpar talent at some of these positions on the field, and they still have a great defense, no question there. But I don't want to lay the 10. This is something I would probably ignore for the most part. I would actually lean towards betting on the over here if I had to. 37 points it's just too low in the sense that a couple of big plays that can happen here and there, a big turnover, pick six, something like that, and you just immediately vault, pretty much over a score like this. So that's the only reason I would be there. Again, I like both defenses. I understand why the number is what it is, but when you get this low, it doesn't take very much. So that's where I would be.
Yeah, like you said, a defensive pick six or something could be very likely in this.
Yeah, it just doesn't take a whole lot. So that's where I would be at if I had to be anywhere. But I'm just going to be rooting for Tennessee to win the game. But cover 10, I'm with you guys. I think that's uncomfortable here. Or maybe not.
I feel a tease. I feel a tease coming on.
Just one of your weird big teasers?
Just a 7-pointer.
All right, fair enough.
Washington plus 17 over 30.
Ooh, okay.
I feel like Washington's good for about around 13 to 16 points. Titans probably good for 21 to 24. Gets me over the 30. Gets me obviously in the 16. Or you can take it down to 3 if you believe Tennessee is going to be within that touchdown, like you're saying.
That'd be where I'd be more comfortable, I think. Just because Tennessee's blown out some bad teams the last couple of weeks. I don't know. It's kind of scary a little bit, right?
It could be.
Okay.
Could be. I would be more imposed to take the 17, though.
Yeah. Okay.
Because I think Tennessee might have actually a shot to lose this game. Washington's still in the playoff hunt.
What do we got on the money line there?
4.25.
That's a lot.
That is a lot. That would be my biggest money line hit.
There it is. That could be number one.
Ever?
No, of the year.
Oh.
That would be cool. Back-to-back Washington money lines finish 1 and 2. That'd be pretty impressive. Big Token and his money line victories.
Yeah. Tennessee was my biggest money line hit of the year, though. Plus 400 against Jacksonville. So.
What?
Earlier this year. It was plus 400.
They were 10-point dogs.
Yeah.
Oh, in the third week of the year. I thought you meant like 2 weeks ago.
Oh, no.
I'm like, what?
No.
Even in that spot, how are they? Because they played with Blaine Gabbert, that's right.
That is why.
I forgot they had Blaine Gabbert.
And Jacksonville still regarded as this
night before it was 7.5, and then in the morning it went up to 10.
It's a great bet.
Yeah.
I love that, yeah.
And I just fired on it.
So I have a question for you, Token. And
yeah.
I mean, you don't have to be honest. I wish you would.
I'll be honest.
You make all these money line bets, and you always tell me how you have these bets. But every time I'm like, hey, can you throw a bet down? You're like, my account is wiped.
that is true, yeah.
So I'm sitting in New York. We went on vacation with the missus.
I actually did have the Oilers.
And did they win? No, they lost, right?
They lost.
So I'm like, hey, I really love Philadelphia tonight against the Rams.
5 minutes right before you called, I put more on the Oilers.
So you didn't even... Oh, so you were cleared out.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I love Philadelphia, but I'm in New York. I can't bet.
I was trying to chase money. I didn't like that.
I didn't think of it. Do you have online money?
Sure, of course. I also had that money line too.
Did you have it?
Yeah, it was small.
Well, I had it in our picks too. That was my bold prediction of the week, and I loved it. And I call him. I'm like, hey, I need you to throw down. What do you have? Well, no, first of all, I go, what do you have in your account? And I get back, nothing. I'm like, oh my god.
Now I have to say
I just let it ride on the Oilers, and they got beat like 4-1 too.
3-2.
Whatever, same shit.
Yeah.
They lost.
They lost.
Still paid out the same.
That is true.
Whatever.
But every time, and then there was the Alabama bet, the Alabama minus 21 against LSU that I wanted to put in.
Ooh,
I'm like, Token, how much you got in your account? $10.
Yeah.
So explain yourself. You tell me about all these bets you win, and then I think you're like the deposit king of William Hill.
I have been putting a lot in there lately.
Tennis. What about, has there been maybe some tennis action going on?
Whatever the
that
action is, he's
late.
cleaned out.
Yeah.
These things happen. I will not make fun of you for this, Token. These things happen.
If I do run up to a certain point, I cash out, but
Oh, good. Okay.
not all the time I get there.
I want to see your cash out history.
Okay.
Pull it up. Right?
Okay.
I want to see your cash out history and your deposit history. Although my streak is broken because I actually took out $2,500 from my account to take for
I was
vacation.
going to say, your account's been very healthy from what I've seen before.
My last deposit was November 7th of 2017.
It's actually really impressive.
But I took out, I cashed out $2,500 because we want to do some nice things in New York. So.
Yeah, of course. But still, that means you've been doing quite well, at least on the Will Hill app. So that's solid.
That's the only thing I bet on now, just because it's just because of convenience. And sometimes you've got to pay a little, but I actually find that William Hill's pretty spot on.
Couldn't agree more.
Overall, not to pimp anything and put down anything else, but overall from top to bottom, and I've had my issues with them. I mean, I made it very clear on Twitter during the Conor McGregor fight. But top to bottom, I mean, for what I need and what they do with the lines and everything, they're the best in my mind. So.
I agree with everything that's based here. I think they are the best. I totally.
Yeah, and see, I know that doing what I did in Florida with the offshores and some bookies and stuff like that, and I got paid from a few offshores. Got the runaround from other offshores long enough until I finally just burnt the money. I mean, ever that happen to you? When I was a new kid on the block, they're like, oh, we need this, and by the time I'm like, just fucking fire it all on X game, and of course I lost.
Yes, I did do that, but I got a spot where I had
you got to roll it over 10 times. Go fuck yourself.
Yeah, I got the rollover run around with another site. I guess I don't know if to name all the names. These guys,
fuck them,
they don't deserve it. All right, well, Bet US.
Bet US.
Bet US was the name.
I had a 10x rollover from them. Like, what the? I deposited $50. I hit a 5-team parlay. I just want to cash out. No, you got to roll it over 10 times. Fuck that.
I'm pretty sure my rollover was much more than 10 times, by the way, which is kind of funny. I think it was like 20 or some crazy number.
Shit.
So I was like, yeah, I can't do this. And we were in like the 500 to 700 range, but I still had money on another very, very good online site, 5 Dimes, still running strong, despite the fact that their leader looks like he's not alive. But
yeah, that's
business as usual.
Is that confirmed or no?
Not confirmed, but it
probability is high.
Yes.
Lay the favorite that he's dead.
Basically, yes. We were hoping, and this is a little dark humor for everybody, we were hoping they would put a line up there to his alive yes or no line, but they did not do that. So,
well, I think that no would be like a heavy fave.
It would be a big fave, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. I made one of those cross bets. I was basketball time. I don't bet a lot of basketball. It was like March Madness time or whatever. And I found a spot where one was minus 105, and the other was like minus 110. I was like, just whatever, screw it. I mean, I'll lose the juice in the back end here, and hopefully it doesn't take more than one try. And I got lucky. And the one that I wanted to win on the right website, 5 Dimes won, and so I was able to kind of move the money over almost.
Nice.
So, but I mean, I'm with you though. The sites that require the rollover and or depositing withdrawing is difficult, or just things you should stay away from. There's only a few online books I would recommend to people. Actually.
And I had one that wanted my copy of my ID, so I sent it to them. They're like, "Oh, we want front and back." So I sent it to them. Yeah. Oh, we never got it. So I was like, "All right, guys."
Yeah.
So
it's crap. Yeah.
Obviously, once I moved here, I lived in a couple other places where I had some guys, some local guys, and then
that can work well.
When I lived in people, for sure. When I lived up in Northeast, the local guys are around everywhere. So
yep.
But now I'm here. I just feel like there's no reason to fuck with offshore shit. Not that I'm discouraging what you do. But
no, but I'm the majority. I'm betting on spots here. I agree with you. I think there's no reason not to, especially when there's a live betting
it's
at your fingertips.
Safe, capability, liability.
These are publicly traded companies. These are legit companies. So, yeah, no, I agree with you 100%.
Does 5 Dimes still have the open parlay? They used to have that back in the day. Or maybe it wasn't 5 Dimes. the only place I've ever seen this, and I can't remember which one it was.
Progressive parlay?
Yeah, Progressive. You could actually pick your games as it goes.
Yes. Still going.
That's fantastic.
It's interesting. I don't use any of that.
But their lines are skewed a little bit.
They do. They skew the lines. Yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth. They actually moved the line, so you're getting like a old bookie line almost, if you will, where the lines are not exactly what they are.
But still, to be able to like parlay a day is kind of
makes it fun.
It's kind of neat.
They have a lot of very fun bets that are just for very user friendly type of place.
Not that we condone for entertainment purposes only, obviously for offshore. So because that's I think you still have to say that now, don't you?
I don't know. I don't have to say anything.
I think so.
I'm not employed by you.
Yeah, you are.
Okay.
You drive to work every 7th day.
Once every week.
I threw a penny at your car one time. That was your paycheck.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You got paid more than I did.
It's true. Yeah, you got paid more than he did.
Yes.
All right, so speaking of mental health issues, let's talk about Josh Gordon.
Wow, nice segue.
Oh, sharp left. So Josh Gordon is now taking an indefinite leave of absence. Depending on what you prefer to believe, it's to regain control of his mental health issues. Some people believe that he can't stay off the weed and is probably facing another indefinite suspension. I tend to believe the latter on that. What about you guys?
Yep, same way. I'm sure this is just an avoidance of whatever the punishment is or could be. I don't know all of the intricacies of how...
But wouldn't that be waiting for him? Or is he just done? He's got to be done at this point, right? I mean...
I would assume so, but I'm guessing that if he does this on his own and or stays out in front of the bad news, if you will, and it isn't... I don't know how to phrase it, but...
It might plead a case for him to be reinstated.
My guess is he might have a better chance. Yes, that is my prediction.
Speaking of turning left too fast, we forgot the Baltimore Chargers game.
We did. I figured you just wanted to talk... you wanted that segue. I felt you really wanted that one, so...
We'll talk about Gordon first and then...
All right, we'll talk about Gordon, then we'll go back to the Baltimore Clippers. We
Yeah.
got about 8 more minutes left here.
Okay,
so.
well, that's...
So basically, long story short, I mean, I got to announce... I'm going to lay the odds that he's done.
Okay.
No more NFL downs in his career.
I would not be surprised if that happens. I think he will be reinstated, though, and be able to play whether or not...
Well, reinstated, he hasn't been suspended.
Well, more than likely he'll be suspended.
But, I mean, another indefinite suspension, wasn't the last one like 2 years?
I think so.
I mean, I'm just guessing he's at least 28 at this point. A 3-year suspension makes him 31. I mean, no chance.
I was thinking he would get 1 year, maybe 2,
and I'm sorry, not to offend.
Somebody would probably pick him up.
Not to offend the BHLs or anything like that, but I mean, if he gets caught busted for any violation of these reinstatement terms, mental health my ass. I mean, hey, if you like the weed, you like the weed. Ricky Williams, I mean, gave up half a career.
He did.
He liked the weed. I mean, nothing wrong with it, dude. If you really are willing to throw away that much money because you like marijuana that much, more power to you.
Yeah, that's right.
Because I mean, Ricky threw away a lot of money.
A lot of money.
Oh, hell yeah.
A lot of money. A lot more money than Josh Gordon would
A
probably
lot more
have
than
ever
this
seen.
guy. Yeah.
Probably would have ever seen.
Yeah. I agree with that.
So, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, I get it. The only thing I can see is hey, when 2020 come to the Raiders, marijuana's legal here, but still not legal in the NFL.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if this becomes political or your beliefs or anything, but I mean, your stance on marijuana. You care if they smoke it or be around it or affiliated with it?
My stance is I guess we'll just do it. I'm opposed to.
It's obviously
full,
not a PED.
Yeah, I'm for sure. I'm opposed to full legalization of marijuana just in general of the U.S. I don't think it's actually good. I think there's more of a net negative than a net positive for the country. But in regards to, yes, if we cannot put this in the same level as steroids or as HGH or whatever, it is certainly not an enhancement per se. So, no, I don't see it like that at all. And for what people want to do, despite the fact I may not want it to be legal for the country, I don't care if people want to do it. Like it doesn't matter to me. If it doesn't affect me, I don't care. Like that's fine. But when you have at your workplace and you have rules and regulations in place,
Sure. Yeah, no, of course.
whether you agree or disagree with them,
You got it. If you want to work for that company, you
right.
follow them.
That's the only thing that I care about, is that if he doesn't want to follow them, then
He's
he has
27.
to. Yeah, he has to face the repercussions of this. So no, I don't care that he wants to smoke weed or anybody does. That's fine. But to me, just follow the rules of your workplace. That's it.
And I agree with you. Yeah, if you want to work at X company,
Yeah,
this is their rule.
that's how I feel.
Yeah, and some people just like it too much to avoid it, and they get caught, and never learn their lessons. And he's definitely one of them. But I think he might get another shot. And
I mean, 720 yards and 3 touchdowns. I think he had like 80 yards with the Browns. So you figure 640 and 3 touchdowns in 8 games. 2 of them he was really just getting acclimated. The first one he was inactive for. So technically 7. You look at the first one as kind of a dress rehearsal. So 6 games.
He looked better than
640 and 3 touchdowns. I mean, that's pretty damn impressive.
He looked better than I thought he would, for sure. I can 100% say that. So, yep.
But I mean, yeah, okay, look at it from all angles. If you really have a mental health issue, great, get better.
Yep.
C'est la vie. It is what it is.
I agree.
Another talent gone. If it's the marijuana, dude, I feel bad for you, man. It's if that's what you want, you're willing to throw away all this money, then that's your life. And I'm not going to tell you how to live it. You're going to live it with a lot of regret.
yeah,
So, I love how he says he's stepping away for a bit. I mean, who's taking you back?
Right.
Especially if they levy a suspension on you of. I mean, the last one was 2 years.
That's right.
yeah.
Agreed.
I mean, from 2014 to 2017, he played 10 games. So in 3 years, he played 10 games. So,
Yeah.
as a 27-year-old receiver, if you get levied with a 3-year suspension,
Yeah, I think if he gets 3 years, more unlikely that he come back. But I have a feeling he might get 2 years in this.
I don't see how you break the rule again and get the same punishment. So
Yeah.
So I'm not saying you could be right, but it just seems weird. So, all right. Well, let's talk about Baltimore and the Chargers. The line is what?
Currently 4. The Chargers are the favorite, down from 5.5. Current total is 43.5, down from 45.
I tend to lean with the Chargers on this one simply because they've had longer to prepare for it. Even though it is a Saturday game, they played last Thursday. So, but the Ravens are an interesting team. They had trouble with the Bucs, but they've been able to just hang around and do all the little things right with Lamar Jackson kind of getting his feet wet here. Part of me wants to take, what's the Ravens' money line in here in this spot? It's got to be, I would say, like 180.
Open at 185 that I see on my sheet here.
Nice, I'm getting good at this.
That is pretty good.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I feel like I'm feeling a Saturday slate of Skins plus 17, Ravens with 11, over the 30, and under 51. That's where I'm looking at. A big little 14 teaser. Or I might take the 14-point teaser.
There it is.
Go with
I was waiting for it.
Tennessee plus 4.
Good.
Over 23. Mm-hmm. LA plus 10. And let's go under 58 in that spot. I could go over 40, under 58. I'm not sure how I feel about it either way. I feel like this is a defensive struggle. Both teams have good defenses.
Yeah.
So, what do you guys think, quickly? Sorry to rush you.
No, you're fine. This one, I like the Ravens plus the points. I do believe Chargers will win this game, though, by only a field goal.
There it is. Field goal. It's either a field goal or a back door.
I believe this one goes down to the last second field goal, and Chargers kick it, and it's good. I do like the under in the spot. I think it'll be like 2017, something around there.
If I had to, I'd lay the points. I don't really like the game all that much. I'm also biased here. I have an under on the Ravens, under 8.5, so I need them to lose out. So I'm not happy with how things have gone. I would lay the 4 on the Chargers, but not be totally happy about it.
I have a Ravens Super Bowl bet, so I cannot agree. Well, they could still make the playoffs at 8-8, but I'm not rooting for that. So,
as you should. Yeah, you should root for what you have. Absolutely.
All right, fair enough. All right, well, that's it for us here for Thursday. By now, the Gasparilla Bowl
Yeah.
is in play. Good luck to Marshall. Good luck to whoever you bet. But hopefully the blundering turds can eke out a win. So my dad likes to call them.
Blundering turds.
Yeah, when they don't play well, he likes to call them blundering turds.
I like it.
Actually, pretty good. I like that too.
Yeah, the Bad Boy Mowers Gasparilla Bowl.
So, Bad Boy Mowers, what's going to be like the thing with that? Like, are they going to like, as they walk out
Rev up your
to the
engines.
coin toss, they're going to like mow the last strip?
That's the one, yeah. Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Tails. All right, we're out of here. Thank you to 12 Ounce Sports Radio. Thank you to VGK Pop Sockets, Eric on the web, and Chai Poker. Catch you on the next one.